Good afternoon. I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave.
And then in this live mastermind, we are going to be covering the topic of outsourcing. So, Dave, I just want to get straight into this one, almost immediately. Right. The way in which we look at this is that what is the difference between you or me or Dave, as the case may be, and the richest person and the poorest person in the world? What is the difference between them? And also, what's the one thing which unites them as well? And I'm just going to let you think about that and more that question, well, two questions, because they're serious questions and they need to be pondered for a few moments, because that really is the pivotal question for today's mastermind. What is the difference between them and you, and what do you share between them? So I'm not going to hold you in suspense for any longer. The richest person obviously has more money than you. The poorest person obviously has no money, or less money than you, I hope. And the one thing which keeps us all united, it's very, very simple. It's time. It does not matter if you are the richest or the poorest person in the world. You still have 24 hours in a day. Just because someone has a shed ton of cash, they still got the same 24 hours. They can't bend space and time in their favor just because they got loads of money. That's not how it works. And the same as the poorest person in the world, they have the same 24 hours in a day. They have the same 60 seconds in a minute. You know where I'm going with this. Now, the thing is that the richest person, or somebody who is more cash rich, has the ability to time hack. And I'm not here trying to get a load of key phrases in here or special terms. But it's the easiest way of thinking about it. It's time hacking, because if you hire somebody into your team, now I haven't done any maths on this, so I need to get the calculator out of this, and I'll do this together with you, is that if you hire them for 7 days a week, 5 days a week, let's get this, press the calculator. So 5 days a week, so 5 times for 7 hours a day. So that's what, 35 hours an extra week, something like that, Dave?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so times 52. So that's an extra 1,820 hours per year, which you can add into your business. Now, I mean, that was in weeks, so I did that wrong, didn't I, Dave? So what was it? 35, and then that was 35.
35 a week. And that's assuming that they work every single week and don't have Easter and Christmas off and stuff like that.
So yeah, I've done that completely wrong. Approximately an extra 260 working days a year. That's right. I've probably done those numbers wrong. But you know what I mean. If you can get someone else to work with you in your team and do stuff which you're not doing, and they do that for 7 hours a day, for 5 days a week, for 4 weeks of the month, for 12 months of the year, just think what could be possible. Now, that is the topic of today. Is that the thing is that it doesn't need to be expensive. In short, outsourcing has had a bad rap, mainly because it has been done badly by other people. And the thing is that where it doesn't work is probably down to lack of good processes, and where it does work, and it does work very well, is probably because of the reverse of that, which is good processes. And that's what we're going to be discussing today, outsourcing. And it is really just it's very simply put, time hacking. This is how money attracts money, because you are able to get other people's time and to get other people to work for you, or with you, is we prefer to call it, to get other people to work with you, so that you don't spend 7 hours of a day or more doing stuff which could be done by somebody else. And Dave, there's another topic here which we need to cover, which is who was it? It was a chap called Chris. He labeled it as superhero syndrome.
Yes.
Chris Ducker coined that one. And Dave, do you want to explain superhero syndrome? I've done a lot of talking already, so
yeah, sure.
Maybe you can pop that into your own words.
Superhero syndrome is basically the same thing which nearly every sort of business owner, entrepreneur, especially if you're starting out, will have at some point. And that's through no fault of your own. It's the case that there's no one else to do it. You have to wear all the hats, and you have to be the accountant, the lister, the customer service rep, the marketer, the sales guy, the product sourcer, the warehouseman, whichever, you basically wear whichever hat is needed to get the job done. Now, as your company grows and you get
Dave, can I just jump in there? You have to do that in the early days.
Absolutely. There's no way around that. There's no shame in doing that. It's what you have to do. The superhero syndrome comes in, however, when you get to a level where you can bring someone else in with the expertise needed to do one of those roles or some of those roles better than what you can. But it's that belief in your head that because you've always done it, that person's not going to be as good as you. It's not worth your time to train them, because by the time you've spent training them, you could have done it yourself quicker and got it done. And you get wrapped up in this complex of being the one who has to do everything. And that is a dangerous sort of mindset to ultimately be in, and can hold the business back.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that sometimes, and I know that it's one thing which and one mistake which I swore not to make this time around with, say, UnderstandingE, and Dave knew this from like the very beginning. It was like, when UnderstandingE starts making money, don't get too excited, because that's going into staff immediately. Is that we are going to go and build a team out, and that's exactly what we did. And I know, like on a personal level, and with my first business, one of the reasons why I screwed up is that I thought that I could do everything. And I learned the hard way through a burnout that it's not actually possible to do everything yourself. So I learned this the hard way. If you can skip this step, then happy days. Some of you may be required to go through the same burnout is what I did. I just know the way you're wired, to be honest. And you may need to go through that burnout to go, perhaps Matt and Dave were right on this one. Outsourcing is definitely a way to go. Now, Dave, there's a couple of topics which we need to cover underneath the label of outsourcing. Like, one of them is like costs. The other one is what kind of things can be done. Which one of those do you want to? And there's some other bits as well. Which one of those do you want to go with first?
I think we'll kick things off with costs, because that is ultimately the one which can be the most scary for a new business. Is like, yeah, I'd love to have another member of staff, but it's going to be expensive. When you start thinking about minimum wage, and now there's like the pensions regulator here in the UK, you have to get all involved with this legal stuff and HMRC. And that is one of the beauties of outsourcing, is that if you are running an online business or an e-commerce business, where a lot of what you do can be accessed through the internet, whether it be your eBay listing, whether it be your Magento backend, whether it be Shopify, whatever it may be, as long as someone has some login details, it doesn't actually matter wherever they are in the world. They can work for you. And that is, we'll come on to that in a minute, what sort of jobs can be outsourced. But instead, when we're talking about cost, it's best to think globally instead of just nationally. So again, here in the UK, it's April. I'm going to assume that minimum wage has just gone up. Whereas, for example, me and Matt are big advocates for the Philippines, and there's a number of reasons for that. Mainly is the Philippines, the people there are incredibly loyal, very trustworthy, incredibly hardworking. But a big one is that the Philippines is the third largest English-speaking country in the world, and their grasp of the English language is phenomenal. In fact, me and Matt have both had members of our team based in the Philippines correct our spelling mistakes.
Some of us many times, and it wasn't Dave.
Many times. And that's the thing. So the Philippines for us is a natural thing. They speak English. They understand our, minor Matt's accents after a while. They got used to our slang words.
After a while, there was
a while. It took a little
Somebody uses quite a lot of slang. If you're not sure on anything, just ask.
Yeah. So the big point there, though, was that there was this fantastic talent pool out in the Philippines. But then when you take a look at the cost of living, all of a sudden it almost feels like this sounds terrible. It sounds like robbery, but it isn't, because me and Matt have been there. And I remember when we first landed in Manila, we went out for something to eat, and then we figured out that the cost of a bottle of beer was about 30p, and we're like, now this all makes sense.
It was really cheap, wasn't it? And the food was really nice as well. I mean, that first night, so yeah. They managed to burn everything.
But that was the thing. It was like, so actually me and Matt went out for a meal, and we weren't shy. We pretty much ordered one of everything on this menu. In fact, we had that platter thing, didn't we? Which was really nice.
Yeah, well, that was always the thing. You go to a foreign country and you're like, I just don't know what I'm ordering. So we just ordered lots because it was all looked pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And we ordered a lot.
So we ordered a lot of food, and I think for both of us, including drinks, it came to the equivalent of like £12. And it was, something like that back home would have easily been sort of £40-50 plus. And it was at that moment we realized actually the cost of living here is very cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore the wages that obviously represent that are very cheap as well. It's all relative.
Yeah, Dave, can we just wind back just a moment here to really hammer home the point, which is that the minimum wage here in the United Kingdom is pretty steep, and it's only ever going to go up because those of people which are on minimum wage are absolutely loving that it's going up. So it's getting very political as far as that goes. So it's never going to go down. In short, and it must be similar for those of you which are based in European countries, Australia, United States. Is the cost of actually having someone local in your country is very expensive. I know it's very expensive here in the UK, and it also does cause many complexities. Whereas an outsourced member of staff, for all intents and purposes, they are an independent contractor. As such, they are liable for tax and any other duties themselves in their local country, and it's not a concern of yourselves or your business. And that also makes things like easier as well. Like, God forbid you have a bad member of staff, that moving them on isn't a biggie. You're not going like that 3-month window. You just imagine the nightmare you would have here in the UK trying to get rid of someone who's crap. You don't have that issue. And Dave was getting to the point here, and we were chatting about beers and meals and food and stuff. Economics, what a Big Mac costs here in the United Kingdom, or maybe in the United States, is a fraction somewhere else, like the Philippines, for example. So that's how we got to the topic of the Philippines, and it's just global economics. Things are cheaper in other parts of the world, and the Philippines are very much our suggested point of interest for you, because it is for us. It's because, as Dave said, there are many positive attributes. A different economy, which is in our favor. So, for example, a typical. So, if you were just getting a semi-skilled, so this is somebody who speaks really good English, probably has a degree, has some form of experience with offshore businesses. By the way, this is anybody who's been through, what is it, BPO, I think. BPO, which is basically where they're on the telephones and things like that for international companies. It's their kind of like goal is to find a UK or American or Australian-based business and to work for them for long term. The Filipinos are really very much interested in long-term relationships, long-term employment. So that definitely does work in your favor. Now let's talk like real numbers. And I've been and put this in the live chat. Now, if you are watching the recorded version of this on YouTube, is that on the right-hand side of your screen, there will be the chat replay. Now, if you are watching this on an iPad or an iPhone, bottom right-hand corner, click the button to see the chat, and it should pop up so you can see the chats going along. Now, in there, we've put in 16,000 Philippine pesos, because that's their currency. And that would get you a good person to mold for your business. Now, what does 16,000 pesos mean in pounds sterling and USD? In pounds sterling today, that is 217 pounds. So that was for a 40-hour working week. Monday to Friday. 40 hours for 4 weeks. They're going to cost you 220 quid. How much would that cost you to hire even a student to help you in your business for the same amount of time? What's minimum wage in your country? How much is it now, Dave? £8, something ridiculous?
I think it's nearly £7.50-ish, around there, maybe a bit more now. I don't know. I know it's gone up this past week.
A lot of money. So you do any maths on that. If you were in the United States, 16,000, and I'm looking over there because that's where I typed it in. 16,000 pesos are $310 on there. Now, if you wanted a more skilled employee, okay, someone who's had a real decent amount of history with them, so maybe slightly older, 25, 30s, okay, about 20,000 pesos wouldn't be unheard of. In fact, we're not getting into numbers for our own team, but just give you a heads up, that's £271 a month, or about $385 a month, okay, for a full-time member of your team. So cost, let's do the calculator, Dave. So wherever the calculator, and I'm not very good at putting stuff in calculators, funny that. So 40 hours a week. 40 hours times 4, and then times, let's say £7.50 for UK minimum wage. That is £1,200 minimum wage-ish, and that's not including all the other crap which goes with having somebody employing somebody. Okay, they're not cheap employees, or they could not be cheap. And yeah, 200. So what's that? 1/5, more less than 1/5 of the cost. Okay. Hobby base is being popped a question there, Dave. Do you want to read that one out? I think that's a fantastic question.
A great question. Yeah, James has from Hobby Base has just asked: is there issues with cultural differences and having someone that truly understands the company ethos?
I think that's a great question. Okay. Are there cultural differences? Yes, there are. Okay, now we are focusing upon the Philippines specifically, just because myself and Dave have had such fantastic experiences with this. Okay, with the country as a whole. There has been ups and downs along the way. We're very honest about this. But the country and the people which we have met and employed long term for 4 or more years now have been absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. But you're absolutely right to bring up the cultural differences, okay? We have, and you can go off and do your own research on this as well, which we would strongly suggest, okay? And also for 100% clarity, we do have a course on outsourcing on the UnderstandingE.com website. There's a link to that in the video description. So if you are really serious about this, which we strongly hope you are, is that go and have a look and go and take the course. And we walk you through the whole lot step by step, even like the interviewing stage as well. So coming on to, and we do cover cultural differences as well, a small amount in there. Getting to my point, cultural differences with the Philippines, they are very polite, sometimes a little bit too polite, okay? And this is such, and I mean, this is just such a good problem to have, okay? Sometimes they may not understand exactly what you asked, okay? And they will sit and struggle to try and get the result which you're looking for, okay? And that's one thing which you need to be aware of, okay? You need to foster an environment where it's okay for them to ask questions, okay? You need to overemphasize this, okay? To the point that you say something, can you do X, Y, Z for me? I reckon it should only take you an hour or so. If you get stuck, please just ask, okay? And remember, please just ask. You put that in everything which you say, because we excuse me, we found that is something which we have had to work on even now, over like 4 years on. If you get stuck, just ask. And we really do mean that as well. So it's such a strange one, which is that they will sit there and soldier on and try and find the answer for you. But sometimes it could have been resolved much quicker by them just asking the question. So there is a cultural challenge there. There's just one specifically. And I do class it as a good one, because once you are aware of it, you can factor it in with everything that you do and in all your communications as well. Dave, you look like you're about to say something.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very fair point. I was going to say, I've mentioned it in the chat as well, you need to just be aware that they do have some different sort of national stroke bank holidays. The good example is Easter. Just then, obviously, we have Good Friday and Easter Monday as bank holidays. They actually have Maundy Thursday and Good Friday as their days. So there are a few differences, and this isn't really a cultural difference, but again, you need to be aware that the Philippines, due to its geography, its location, they do get hurricanes or what typhoons, as they call them, out that part of the world, which can mean, power outages every now and again. It's something to be aware of. If, you can put things in place so that your team can contact you if the internet goes down.
Can I just jump in there? You can put things in place by having multiple members of staff in different islands, because there are many different islands. And if one has an issue, the other one doesn't. That's quite the norm. We've got members of our team on literally very different islands, and one may be getting hit by a storm and the other one's absolutely fine, and one may be having a power outage and the other two or three are fine. It's quite normal over there to have it, not in Manila, which is the capital, but especially on some of the smaller islands, electricity can be an issue. Things like generators are the norm there as well. We're not saying that Philippines is a third world backwards country, not at all. Maybe out on some of the smaller islands, you may experience that, but on the whole, it's quite civilized there, to say the least.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dave, come on.
Very much so. And but yeah, I mean, other than that, like I said, I think the biggest cultural difference was sort of empowering your team to be able to communicate two ways with you. That's the big one that we realized. They can get into a habit of it being a one-way street. You tell them what to do, they say yes, nod the head and do it. Whereas you really, if you can get ahead that ability for them to feel comfortable in saying, giving you ideas. And I mean, for example, one of our team members today reached out to me and went, "Dave, how about this for an idea for a blog post?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's a great idea. Go ahead." So they actually come back to us now and suggest things. And having that is a much more valuable, but that's, like Matt said, you have to sort of nurture that and encourage that, because some people, they just want yes men when they hire out those team members. And that's not really what we wanted. Yeah, absolutely. Now, there are some questions which have come in, and it's going to take us on a slightly different route to what we had planned. But no apologies for that, because you're asking these questions live, so we're going to answer them as quickly as we can. So there was a question which came in. So Hobby Base has said, "I only say that because even with a local marketing person, it's taken us a long time to get it right." Absolutely. It doesn't matter whether the person is sat next to you or is in a different country, because the thing is that we have this funny thing called the internet, and we have free tools like Skype and instant messages, which you can communicate with your team. And again, why would you not give that kind of dedication to somebody who is, you would do it for somebody who was sat next to you, teach them and nurture them and train them. Why wouldn't you do that with an outsourced member of staff, or somebody who's and we're saying outsourced, but they're just remote to you. They're just not in the same office as you, sat next to you. Okay. But with tools like Skype, and I'm looking at my other screen, so I've got Skype up on it, is that the world is suddenly so much of a smaller place. So yeah, absolutely. It will take you a long time to get right. But one thing which we would like to stress is that for every hour that you put into the training and the development and the nurturing of that new member of your team, you will get back 100-fold, if not more. If you take, for example, that Adrian, our video editor, has been with me for 5 or more years, we can send him a video and we get back exactly what we want. We don't have to tell him. We just say, "Look, there's the files." And he goes and does it exactly how we want it to be done. And that comes from experience and lots of nurturing. And I'm sure that will change over a period of time. And there's many other examples within our team. But you get what you put in, okay? But you get back at least 100 times, because if that person's, then if you spend a week or a couple of weeks in there just really nurturing that person, sharing that information, because we are dealing with human beings, that these people are not robots, okay? It's not voodoo, it's not anything special. We're dealing with human beings. Us human beings are quite smart people.
You train them, you get what out, you get way more out than what you put in. Anyway, so that was a fantastic one. There was also a topic which has been brought up by Reese as well. Is it possible to employ a full-time Magento developer? Now, we are talking outsourcing as in like customer support, product listing, and we'll get onto specific tasks in a minute. When it comes to development, I would personally suggest not India, for one, not the Philippines, Eastern Europe and Russia, okay, for development. And that really is just like a cultural thing, is Eastern European developers, or it's like schools, their arithmetic is very strong. Also their culture as well. If you ever met a Russian, they are pretty point blank attitude to you. Okay, and that's how programming works. It's either right or wrong, and that kind of like attitude mentality really does suit programming really well. So Reese, no, definitely not Philippines. And again, I don't want to rule out that whole country. I'm sure there's some very good developers there somewhere. I've not found them myself, but
we did look.
Way to go. India, okay, and I hate to generalize the whole country, and again, I'm sure there are some fantastic developers there, but my own personal experience has not been good, and the reason for that is because the Western world, like people based in Eastern Europe and Russia, kind of get like the Western world, that you ask them to do something and they'll do it, and they'll do the bits which also need to be done, which you forgot to specify. Whereas that what I found with my own experience, I want to stress this, with Indian-based developers, they'll do exactly what you wrote and nothing more, because they don't understand the intricacies of the Western world. Now, that will change over time, but right now, no to that one, yes for development. Eastern Europe, straight Russia, no-brainer. I won't employ anybody outside of that kind of area right now, unless they have fantastic critique, or they, like a very recent person who's been enjoying the team, is that he came to me. He's to the right of Turkey. I don't even know what the country's called, if I'm honest. It's some obscure one. I've never come across it before. And I was like, what? I've never heard of this place. Looked up in Google Maps, never heard of it. And we spoke to him. He actually was a German bloke. He grew up in Germany and went to this for his wife, and now I found out the rest of the story. And he's in some obscure country, not in like Eastern Europe at all. But he came to me and said, is this what you're looking for? And I looked one look at it, yes. So there's always exceptions here, but as a generalization, Eastern Europe and Russia for development. So Reese, fantastic question. Fantastic question. Cool beans. Right, Dave, I've gone off topic into locations. Oh, no, this does highlight the point. Philippines. What kind of tasks could be outsourced, Dave?
Mm-hmm. Now, this is a great question, actually, one that James in Hobbybase has just asked in the chat. So James will come on to that in a moment. But a great example, again, we'll try and keep this sort of e-commerce business focused, and then we'll share some of the stuff that our team do for us. So ultimately, your imagination is your limit, largely. And that the only roles that an outsourcer cannot feasibly do for you these days with the help of software is anything that requires them to be physically with you. So, for example, they could not make you a coffee, but they could order you one. That's the sort of, the line that we're thinking here. So
yeah,
again,
and that Dave, you've hit the nail on the head. Is the physical presence. There are if you've got a warehouse here in the or an office here in the UK or US, and you've got items which need to be shipped out, the actual physical part you can't really outsource. Well, technically you could, because you could use a fulfillment company to help you with that. But as far as outsourcing, as we're discussing here, we're not. The limitation is the physical side. If you can get past that, everything else. And we mean everything else, don't we, Dave?
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, thinking from an e-commerce business point of view, whether that be product listing, whether that be image creation or photoshopping images, sort of white background, all the rest of it, where customer service is an obvious one and perhaps one of the most common ones that gets used for outsourced team members. Product sourcing is, or product research is probably a better one there. The sourcing part is probably best coming from you, but the research can certainly be done by an outsourcer. In fact, any sort of research task, whether that be supplier research, product research, you name it, it can largely be handled by an outsourcer. Now, James, to give you an answer as to what do our staff do for us on a daily basis, again, when we're in video creating mode, we have Adrian, our video editor. His main job is to edit videos. And he was the first hire that we had. And to give you an idea, back when we first started UnderstandingE, me and Matt would split. So Matt would do the video edit, I would do the audio edit. It would take, say we recorded an hour-long tutorial, it would take us both an hour to do the recording. It would then take Matt an hour to edit video, take me an hour to edit the audio. It would then take an hour-ish to render and do the upload. So realistically, in a day, we could do maybe 2 tutorials a day and actually get them over the line. And as soon as we brought Adrian on board, bearing in mind that Matt had used Adrian previously for a couple of other things, so he was sort of tried and tested already. But I remember that December when we were launching in January, Adrian came on board, and we went from being able to do and get finished 2 tutorials a day to recording maybe 10, 12 a day. Our output just exponentially increased.
Yeah, can you just imagine like the kind of impact that had on us, even at a very, very early stage? The point Dave's making there is that for every like 30 minutes of video which we would make, it would take an additional 2 hours and 30 on top to actually get to the finished product. So it was a huge time sap for us, whereas that somebody else came in and was able to do that task for us. And got rid of that. So we were then able to focus on creating content and the planning of courses and so on and so forth. And as such, it was just a fantastic help. If we just change the topic towards customer service, I'm going to understand here and point blank tell you customer service is not the best use of your time. You probably already know that. And you probably already hate customer service. And I can't tell you how much eBay buyers drive me nuts now. Is that I couldn't probably do what you do because I've seen at least as many emails as you've seen and messages from buyers for different issues and things like that. Whereas that customer service is generally normally like the best task for you to outsource. Now, don't think for 1 second we are saying is that you're going to hire somebody for 16,000 pesos, 220 quid a month, and all your tears are going to go away and you're never going to see a message again. It's not like that. You have to sit there, you have to work with them, you have to train them, you have to part this information. You've got so much bottled up in your head. And if you can share this with somebody or multiple members of your team, is that they can then take this away from you so you can go off and sit in Costa rather than doing the team scrum meeting like somebody was supposed to be doing this morning. But on a serious point, it's so liberating and it does release you as an entrepreneur to do the stuff which you're supposed to be doing. Now, I want to get this up on my screen, so you're going to have to excuse me. I need to try and choose the right screen, and I'll do my best not to end the presentation or the live thing, which somebody has been known to do. This is, again, by the way, don't take our word for it, okay? This is Ends for Games. Anna, what a character! Yeah, she dropped the F-bomb in about the first 6 sentences. We knew that we were going to get on with this girl almost immediately. Really, really good girl. I'll put a link to that in the video description for you. And have a listen to Hannah and how outsourcing has changed her business for the better. It's a very real talk, okay? A real chat between Dave, myself, and Hannah. Absolutely brilliant. So we're going to put a link to that in the video description afterwards. Go and have a listen to that. It's also on iTunes as well. So if you do a commute you have a listen to it on your phone in the car or something like that. It is such a great talk. So have a listen to what Hannah thinks about outsourcing, because we just can't make this stuff up. Yes. So, sorry, Dave.
Yeah, no, so James just says, how many videos does Adrian create on, say, a weekly basis these days? To be honest, James, we don't know what Adrian's maximum output actually could be, because me and Matt are the roadblock. Me and Matt are the hindrance. So put it this way, whatever we've given Adrian, and bearing in mind that we've given Adrian, the last course I think was 19 or 15 with 4 bonus ones. We record them and Adrian gets them done. You know, for example, I'm trying to think, last time we did the last course, that was, I mean, one time he got a lizard stuck in the fan of his computer. And he actually sent us a picture. That sounds like a ridiculous excuse.
No, you thought it was what? You know what? He sent us the photograph, didn't he?
So we had a bit of an issue that time, but the last course, easily within a week, we had, and that's everything. So again, we're talking the other roles that our team do, all the course articles that go along with that, the screenshots, the walkthrough guides, someone else looks after that, all the artwork, images that goes with it, someone else looks after that. So it is really a whole team process, and it's great because pretty much myself and Matt, we sit down, we plan, we record, and then we don't touch it until publishing happens. So all the polish and everything else that takes place is done by the team, because that is not the best use of mine and Matt's time. We
literally do not see it after it's been recorded and been uploaded. We don't see it. And there was a question which came in here from Hobbybase, which says, is Adrian paid weekly regardless of what work you give him? Yeah. Some weeks he's got nothing. Some weeks he will end up working over the weekend to get a course out. It's just the way it is. It's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, and that is again, that goes back to the relationship that we have with Adrian. Is to the point where, you know, he knows it's like, you know, what's the word? Drought and floods, pretty much. It's like he could go weeks with nothing, and then we'll say, Adrian, we need these 20 videos done now, and he will work tirelessly through weekends, late at night, just to get them done, because that's just a relationship that we've built over time.
Yeah. And is that Mr. Merlin have a bit of a bark in the background?
Shouting about something in the background, yes. I have no idea what he's shouting at, but he's not happy.
If you've never met Merlin, he's the cutest little thing going. And Dave, actually, just got look.
In fact, I think he's happy. It sounds like he's playing with something. Yeah.
Completely going off topic, and this is way off topic. Dave, you've been posting photographs of Merlin, which is this cute little Deutschhound, up onto Instagram, and you've been curating a story of his life so far, haven't you?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, there's a bit of a fun one to see. How much traction cute little dogs get on Instagram. He's currently bunny hopping all over the place. So yeah, it's curious to see how easily people want to interact with cute little dog pictures.
And the funny thing is that my wife was chatting about this to one of her friends over the weekend, and like. I'm not going to mention the name. Put it this way: she's an investment banker, very straight-laced lady who works in London, earns stupid money, and she follows a pig on Facebook. I just couldn't. So you're just nuts, you know. And she literally follows a pig, daily updates on Facebook. So anyway, getting ourselves back.
Anyone's interested, by the way, Merlin the Magical Dachshund on Instagram. That's his title.
Nuts. Like I said, we went off topic there slightly, but that of course could be something which could be outsourced by somebody else.
Absolutely, someone else. Photographs. Again, so, I think that's another thing one of our team do. They run large parts of the social, the blog. Again, James, you asked before. A lot of the blog stuff is now automated. Obviously, it all gets checked by myself or Matt before it goes live, and we edit our bits in. The social accounts are largely outsourced, but again, anything that comes in, we see them. Matt hasn't looked at an email in months. Outsourced.
I tend to look at my emails on the weekend or a Monday morning, just because of billing statements which come in on a Monday. and the odd email from like Amazon. Like, we're not going to bore you with the details, but the odd couple of ones. And the rest of it, I don't care. H is actually, ironically, she's my wife. She's like one of the, besides myself and Dave, she's like the only person here in the UK which works with us as a part of the team. And she covers that for me. And the rest of it, like all the U emails, are all covered by Tina as well. So, yeah, crazy. Now, Dave, I just want to reiterate a couple of points here, is that outsourcing is not a shady or anything untowards like business process. It is a valid, viable business process which many, many different businesses use across the globe, including ourselves. And like, have a look at Hannah's podcast. Absolutely fantastic. They can basically, you can hire inexpensively one or more members to your team. Preferably, you can do ad hoc stuff, but that's like project based. We're talking about long term, a member of the team. Okay, not somebody for a project to do a bit of coding for you, where a project has a finite beginning and end. Okay, something like customer support, always like ongoing. That's the perfect task for, say, somebody based in the Philippines. And it's not just customer support, it's many other things as well. We mentioned video editing. It could be finding suppliers. It could be product descriptions. How many times have we spoken about like the perfect eBay listing or the perfect Amazon listing? And you've gone, that's a really good idea. And then actually you might put your finger up or your hand up and say, I remember watching that mastermind, but if I'm brutally honest, I didn't actually do it. Well, there you go. Perfect. Give them the mastermind, take them through the details, and get them to improve your listings. And then when you're out with your mates, yeah, I've updated all my eBay listings. And Jonah, who's our new member of the team, she's been brilliant. So yeah, it could be a boasting point later on. But if you can fit anything which doesn't require them to be physically in your office, they can do it for you. Literally anything. And we're picking on the obvious ones like product listing, product or listing improvement. We've got customer support is another obvious one for us to talk about. There is another topic which we need to discuss, which is time zone differences. Okay, there is an obvious time zone difference between where you are based and the Philippines. Now, this is where your ideal kind of candidate to come and work for you and your business from somebody who's based in the Philippines is probably already used to either a UK or US based time zone. So for you to ask them to work to cover a bulk of time, which is covering like in your local time zone, that's perfectly acceptable. Okay, it's just the way it is. It's the expected norm for those based in the Philippines, that if they are going to be working with overseas companies, is that they need to match the time zone. Okay, now don't think this is bad by any stretch of the imagination. So Ruel, who's been with me in Widget Chimp support for 2 or more years now, is that I know for a fact that he loves this. Absolutely loves it. He can take his kids to the school. His wife works really long really long hours as a warehouse manager. Okay, so Ruel takes on some of the mum roles, well, dad roles, and he takes his kids to school every morning. Okay, and then he picks them up from school as well. He absolutely adores that. Being able to do that as a dad, as I'm sure I would do, and. He does that every day. So his wife can work as a warehouse manager. She does like stupid long hours. She even works Saturdays as well, and things like that. So yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. Them working out of shift or out of sync. In many ways, is a very good thing. But they just work around it. So cool beans.
Now, James actually asked an interesting question. He said, "Do you not feel a bit detached from the business if you're not at the coalface occasionally?" Matt's shaking his head there in the background. The honest answer, James, is no. We're not detached, because again, every morning we as the team have a scrum meeting. We know exactly what's going on. The simple questions: what did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? Is there anything that is stopping you, or what is impeding you in doing your job? Those 3 questions give me and Matt a very good insight as to what is going on across the team in the different areas of the business. I know if there's an email that pops in, or a comment or a question somewhere which the team feels is not beneficial. You know, they don't know how to handle it. It's, you know, or there's something which they believe that me and Matt need to be aware of. It will get highlighted to us immediately. So it's more of a case of we still have our fingers on the pulse of the business. We're just not getting bogged down with the stuff which we don't need to get bogged down with. And that is the empowering part of outsourcing.
I think that's an absolute key here. Now, sorry, I've turned my camera off, and let me go and hit present to everybody. So up in front of us is a website called scrumtrainingseries.com. I go and have a look at module 1. It's 17 minutes long. Okay, that will get you up to speed with Scrum and what it is and what it can do for your business. Okay, now Scrum is a fascinating process. Now, if you look up the actual creator of the Scrum processes, he actually wrote a book, which is actually on audio. What's the audible.com? It's a red cover, and it is just absolutely fascinating what can be done with Scrum. And it's not just developers which use it. You can use it in your day-to-day business operations. They use it in schools. Absolutely brilliant. And yeah. So if you never come across Scrum before, do go and take a look at that. That's a free website which will take you through the details. But if you're more serious about it, look up the book by the actual creator. I've forgotten to say now, remember it's a red cover on Audible, and have a listen to the audiobook, because that's like the most powerful version of it all. So yeah, do we feel I need to repeat the words correctly on their detached? Hell no, it's frankly honest, because of all the reason which they've said a few moments ago. And I want to give you like as much value, like as many examples as possible. The best example which I can give you right now, okay, is that in November, I made a decision to learn a new programming language and a new framework, okay, in another programming language as well. I had only ever mucked around with Node.js a little bit beforehand, and the code which I wrote had many issues. And I'm allowed to do that because I'm allowed to piss out myself, because it was me which wrote it. And I sat down and I have been through many courses on Udemy. I have written several independent applications which run on AWS Lambda, which I didn't have a clue what that was. Well, I kind of had an idea of it. I didn't realize how powerful it was. And since November, I've learned a new programming language. I've learned it quite proficiently. I'm not going to say I'm an expert. I am going to say that I'm a moderately good programmer in that language. And also going into PHP, I've been learning a new framework, my first proper framework. It has been very difficult, to say the least, coming from somebody which came from a very unstructured environment and learning the ins and outs. And this has been going on since November. We are now in April. I got sidetracked for a month and a bit in a project which has actually cost me a lot of money, but it has been such a brilliant learning experience, while UnderstandingE and other concerns have been going on in the background. Okay, me as a business owner, I only get to see the things which I really should see. So when we get like really urgent tickets come in, like something is broken, okay, and remember there is a difference between important and urgent. Okay, it's a very difficult line to track, but there is a difference between urgent and important. Anyway, urgent stuff which needs to be seen and resolved, it gets in front of me immediately because it gets pushed through. Okay, and then of course it goes through, and while everything else is still carrying on the same to the outside world. So do I feel detached? Yes, it's the honest answer. Do I feel bad for that? No, not at all. Because sometimes you have to, as the business owner, in this case, one of the entrepreneurs within the business, you do have to step away every now and again and take a good look down on the business and see what's going on. And frankly honest, that is like the worst task which you could outsource, is like a managerial role or like an entrepreneurial role. That really does not suit outsourcing. That really has to come from you or people which are experts in their own arena. But day-to-day stuff, product stuff, listings, customer service, perfect for outsourcing, and they can release you to do the things which you should be doing, like working on your business, okay, or working on, in this case specifically, on new avenues to the businesses which you already run. And do make that as a plural, because technically UnderstandingE is one business, Widget Chimp is a second one, eSeller Cafe is another one. So we actually run 3 businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't do that without members of the team.
Yeah. And an interesting example just popped into my mind there. I don't know if anyone's checking out eSeller Cafe this week. We've got an influencer series going out where we reached out to e-commerce influencers, and one of the people I actually emailed was Jeff Bezos. I emailed Devin Wenig and the CEO of Etsy and the CEO of Instagram, and reached out to all these people. And the one person I got a reply from was the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos. And I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting that he was too busy to do an interview, by the way. So don't get excited. But the point I'm making is anybody can email Jeff Bezos, jeff@amazon.com. It goes through to Jeff Bezos' email. I guarantee he didn't actually personally read my email. However, if you Google Jeff Bezos ? Email, you'll find stories of people, usually disgruntled customers who've had a bad experience at Amazon, and they've read somewhere that they're going to go straight to the top and email Jeff. And it does get through to Jeff Bezos. And the email that tends to follow that is Jeff will forward that to someone in his company with a single question mark. And that's the thing, is like what we're saying here. Jeff probably didn't read my email, but he does read emails where something has gone wrong within Amazon, and he then takes an action by sending. Apparently, everybody shits themselves when they see the question mark email appear from Jeff, because it means, why has this happened? But that's the power, is that even someone at Amazon who hire an entire country's worth of people, Amazon hires more people than the population of Luxembourg. He still sees emails and still ones that matter to him, and obviously takes action when it's needed. So if Jeff Bezos, do you think Jeff feels detached from Amazon? Probably to a degree, but he's focusing on the stuff which Jeff needs to focus on. He doesn't need to focus on the nitty.
I just say, dude, when you've got a business that large, you need to be detached to work out what the smeg is going on.
Yeah, so that's just an example which popped to mind. Do you feel detached using outsourced team? No, not at all. As long as you put the process in place where you can keep the finger on the trigger for the bits that matter the most. So that's, again, dragging us back on track here. What else have we got?
Dave, I think we've hit the nail on the head for all the key points here. Okay. Yeah. So what we're going to do, we're going to wrap up now. Now, I'm sure you still have some unanswered questions, because we've only really we've covered like this at a very high level. There are many practical things which you need to be aware of. Okay. But just to quickly summarize. Okay. Outsourcing is a fantastic, liberating process. Okay. There are ideal tasks which can be outsourced, okay, and there's less than ideal ones. Like I've run out of coffee, so it's gonna have to be me because the wife's on the school run. There is a different. There's outsourcing, which is like project tasks, like development, which have a beginning and they have an end. They have a finite period. Okay, what we're talking about, and what have been talking about in this mastermind, is outsourcing, where you have a member of the team come and join you full time to work with you and your business for the long term, to do those repetitive tasks, like inventory related tasks, like customer service, like finding new suppliers, working with new suppliers, data, and so on and so forth. Those kind of repetitive tasks which do require a human to do those tasks for you. And we also mentioned that it's not expensive. I am just going to quickly just scroll up. Okay, so for a full-time employee on 16,000 pesos a month in the UK, that's 220 quid a month, or in the US, that's $310 per month. Okay, slightly more skilled, well, I would say quite a lot more skilled. Okay, employee would be about £271 per month or $390 a month. Okay, which here in the United Kingdom is about 1/5, excuse me, of the minimum wage. Okay, so if you were to think it's less than 1/5. So you could have 5 outsourced members of your team compared to 1 full-time member of staff who sat next to you, like physically next to you. The only thing which they cannot do is anything which requires them to be physically there. And remember, they're tools. We have this funny thing called the intervals, okay? Skype, Messenger, whatever, okay? The world is suddenly a very, very small space. There's obviously a difference in time zones, but don't worry about that because the right kind of candidate already knows this and will work with you as far as the time zone goes. Okay, actually, in some instances, it's quite novel that you wake up in the morning and one of your team has been and edited a shed load of videos, and you've woke up in the morning, it's already done for you. Imagine going into your office tomorrow morning and somebody has done all of your customer support questions, bar one which needs your help. Okay, and that includes phoning up the courier and giving them a shoeing because they've been crap. Okay, so you get, and that brings us to the next point, which is that you get out what you put in with that 1 or more members of your team. Okay, we are not saying that this is like a magical one-shot wonder and it's job done. We'll hire somebody and they'll just do it all for us. That's not how it is. You get out what you put in. Okay, so for every hour's worth of training you put in, you get at least 100 hours back. Okay, free time, which allows you to work on your business, okay, or your future, as the case may be. I gave you a practical example about myself very recently, what was still going on right now. If you would like to know more, Scrum strategies, we mentioned, we'll put a link to that in the video description in a few moments. Definitely, again, don't take our word for this. Go and listen to Hannah's podcast. Fantastic woman. I really like her. We know that you're going to like her because she's just like our kind of people.
And to give you an update on Hannah, we actually recorded that last year. Since then, Hannah's won an eBay for Business Entrepreneur Award for her business sales on eBay. She's now... It was called Games for Hens. It's now Hannah's Game. She does, instead of just doing hen party games, she's recently been doing Easter games, Christmas games, baby shower games. She really is expanding the business. And all of that is largely down to her outsourcing, bringing in a team member and being able to utilize her time more efficiently. So again, there's more information on Hannah out there, on Hannah's Games. She's been in newspapers. She was in the Mirror the other week, telling her story, and it all stems from hiring the outsourced member of staff and following the UnderstandingE outsourcing course.
Yeah, and again, a shameless plug, there's a link to that in the video description. We take you through step by step, even like the types of interview questions which you should be asking and the things which you need to be doing after you've employed your first person. Okay, and we're saying first, because once you realize this, and once you think, oh, that didn't cost me a lot, and you think, holy cow, 1,200 quid? Jesus. I'm not going to need to mind the language. But you know what I'm trying to say. Once you get a taste for it, you end up with multiple members of your team and a business which can run and will run 24 hours a day. Very cool stuff. And again, this is one thing which I never went to business school. I didn't take business studies at school. I remember I had one business studies lesson, which the only one which I ever remember, and it was Mrs. Watson. Of course, she was a right witch, and she was like saying like, what would you do if your business was all going wrong and things like that. And it's the only lesson which I can ever remember. And I put my hand up and I was like, commit suicide. And that was the only lesson which I can remember from, you can see Dave laughing down there. That's the only business studies lesson which I can ever remember from school. And I really wasn't interested in that. I had no idea that I'd end up being labeled an entrepreneur later on and things like that, and become completely unemployable. But the one thing which I really do wish I knew sooner and I didn't have to go through the pain of like a pretty bad burnout, like literally waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning and in a tent in Paynton, still a beautiful morning, still remember it, clear as day, and watching the sunrise and sitting there thinking over a cup of coffee, and I was doing a fry up as well, frankly thinking, fuck it, I've had enough and I'm out, and it cost me bad on the way out. And it should, in hindsight, if I'd known about this outsourcing thing, if I knew about the Philippines, for example, then things may have been very, very different. But I'm not sad about that. I just wish I knew that. I can't change it now. Hindsight is a bit of a you-know-what. And I wouldn't be sat here in front of you today telling you about that story of waking up in the tent, hitting burnout and going, I've had enough, and and just getting out. And like I said, I won't be sat here telling you about the story. So please do take it. There's only been one real screw up, which I've made. Like true screw up. I made loads of mistakes, it's whatever. But the biggest one was not, in my early days, was not getting a team into place as quickly as possible. And outsourcing, especially with the Philippines, makes it very inexpensive. So no issues with me saying, shameless plug, there's a link to the actual course which me and Dave made down in the video description, because there's a lot of stuff and a lot of things which we've learned through fire, which you can skip. And it really is a process which you can just follow yourself and go through and interview and you can specify, you can interview, you can hire, and the after part as well is included in that course as well. And if you don't think it works, go and listen to Hannah on that podcast and she'll tell you different. So Dave, have I missed anything there?
I don't think so, mate. I think that's pretty much everything that we could fit into an hour.
Oh, we've done it in an hour. Holy days. Brilliant. So I would like to say a massive thank you to you for taking the time to watch this episode. Do remember, we hold these masterminds every week live on Tuesday at exactly the same time. Dave, what is next week?
Oh, you've caught me out.
I kind of know. I've already got to open it up. Time is a commodity. Are you spending it wisely? That's next week's topic. Okay. Like I said, if you have enjoyed this episode, do us a favor. Hit the thumbs up underneath this video. If you have any questions or comments about anything which we've been discussed, you can either leave those as a comment underneath this video, or you can nip across to UnderstandingE.com. And like we said, during this video, there's links to everything which we've been discussed in the video description underneath this video. Press show more and the links will be down there for you. So a big thank you to you for joining us. From myself, Matt.
And from me, Dave.
Cheerios.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.